What is going on, friends and fellow artists? This is Matt, aka Mr.E in 3D, and in today's video we are going to continue our series creating my third original character, Aros the Elf Spellsword, taking him from the concept sketch you see here, through the 3D design process, and eventually, in a future video, a 3D printable figure. Now, if you are new to the channel, I am in the process of modeling and printing an original series of fantasy characters. I have currently 12 figures planned, 6 races, 2 characters for each race, Aros being the first elf of the series. Now, in a couple of seconds, I will jump over to Blender and I will use the generic humanoid head that I previously created for the channel and begin the process of modeling out all the details for Aros's head and face. I will share this as a time lapse and I'll give it a little bit of voiceover just to save us some time, and then afterwards I'll slow things down, jump back out, and I will show you guys the final finished model. Now, all in all, there are just a couple changes and modifications that I made to the original design. That's to be expected, but I am super happy with the way that he does end up coming out, and I cannot wait to show you guys the final model. So let's not waste any more time, let's jump right in and let's get started. Alright guys, so starting out, we're just going to do a little bit of just some real quick shaping here, using G for grab along these vertices, selecting them, pulling them back, just trying to narrow out that jawline a lot and get his nose shaped up here. I'm going to narrow out his nose here a little bit, Control R, and we're going to lengthen this nose out, add a brow line, get his nostrils, design E to extrude out those nostrils. From here, just get a little bit of shaping done, and then we're going to move on to the ears. I'm going to pull these ears out. One of the things I really wanted for my elves is for those pointy ears to be really defined. I just really kind of wanted to make sure that everybody knew that these were elves. So I'm just going to go ahead and just grab that face and just pull them straight back and pull them into position and narrow them out. Here I'm going to go ahead and start working on the brows. I'm going to use the knife utility, the K for knife, draw out those eyebrows, select them, E to extrude them out, and then we'll go ahead and shape them up a little bit, add a loop cut to the middle, and then finish up. Alright, moving on, we're going to start designing out his mouth here. Again, I'm going to use that K for knife utility. And I'm just going to draw out those lines, make sure that my vertices all connect to other faces. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to switch to faces and I'm going to extrude out those lips. I'm going to go ahead and move his mouth down a little bit, give him just a little bit of a frown. He's supposed to be bored. That's the original design that I had. I'm going to add a couple lines here so that his lips can be a little bit fuller. I'll pull those out along the Y. From there, I'm going to do a little bit of work around the eyes here to flatten out the area where the eyes are going to be. If you have been following along, you know my eyes have a very specific style. I will import them here in a couple seconds, and I want to make sure that area is ready for them. Lastly here, I'm just going to go in and we're going to click the two faces together, hit M to merge, and then pull those lips together into one vertex. That's just a little bit more detail work. And we should be ready to import the eyes here in a second. Alright guys, so from here I'm going to go ahead and import the eyes from another file. I did a video on this previously. You can go ahead and check that out on my channel. I'm just going to bring these into position. I will of course be modifying these over the course of the process. And then we're going to jump in and start working on the hair. Now again, I've done another video on how I go about the process of creating the hair for my characters. You can check that out as well. Essentially here, I'm just going to draw out a scalp line. I'm going to duplicate that out. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit Control R, create some loop cuts. And with those loop cuts, I'm just going to go ahead and once I have them all drawn in, I'm going to go ahead and select every other one. And then I will just grab them with G and draw them up, and grab them with G and draw them out to the sides. I will then go through the process. I will select all, E to extrude, so it becomes a 3-dimensional model. Scale it out just a little bit, and then I will go ahead, hit P while I'm in the edit to go ahead and separate out that selection. And you can see that I did that here. And then I'll go ahead and drop it down into position once I get these final details created. Now at first it always looks like a funny little toupee when I add it to the model, but as you'll see, eventually we do get it to look just like normal hair. It just takes a little bit of TLC and just a little bit of extra time and effort. But I've just found this technique really works well for me. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same process for the back of his hair. This is where I'm going to be doing the longer hair. So we're going to do a model of the scalp. I'll go through the process just as before, where I Control R, add those loop cuts. I will go ahead, extrude them out into a three-dimensional object. I'll lengthen it out, and then I'll go ahead and add those lines and make it wavy. I would highly recommend you go check out the video where I create the hair if this is something that you're interested in. It really is an easy process. I've had a lot of success with it. I really do think it looks great, especially for the characters like this that have a stylized design. I'm going to go ahead and drop that into position, and then I'll just do some final editing where I move everything around and get it looking right. Alright, moving on, I'm going to go ahead and add a plane to the scene, and now we're going to start work on creating Aros's circlet, or his crown. I'm going to delete the left side, add a mirror modifier, just so that everything is uniform on both sides, as I always do. I'm going to go ahead and just G for grab these lines, selecting the lines and pulling them all around so that they form around his head. Get them into position, and then I'll start detailing. Now you will notice this is a little bit different from the design of the concept. I did add a little bit more detail. I just really thought that this was a cool idea to have it almost like antlers or horns. I'm going to go ahead and extrude here a second line. Again, this does not exist in the concept, but I just really liked it once I got started with it. You're going to notice I do a couple different things here with the crown or circlet. Essentially, one of the things was the centerpiece. I went through a couple different variations where I was changing out the design of the center, and you're going to see that here in a couple minutes. I'm going to extrude that out and make it three-dimensional. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and extrude out each section so that it has a more layered look to it. Once I get everything sized up, I'm going to go ahead and subdivide it as I always do. I'm going to hit Control R, add a couple more lines, scrunch up those lines to give us a little bit more hard lines, a little bit more detail. And from here I'm going to start that centerpiece I was just talking about. Now initially I had planned on having this be kind of like a glyph in the center of his helmet. During my initial test though, I just didn't really like the way it looked. So we'll end up going ahead and changing that here into a couple minutes, and you'll see me do that. I'm going to add a couple of details here, just kind of adding just some lines. I just thought this looked really neat once I started. I'm going to extrude those out. And you'll see me do this every once in a while. Sometimes with the subdivided view, it's difficult to see some of the details or get the lines selected right. So I will drop it down to no subdivisions and make sure I'm grabbing the right lines. Just something that I do a lot of. And here I'm going to go back in. I decided that rather than doing the glyph, again, I did try it and I didn't really like it. I'm going to turn this into a jewel instead. Just give him kind of like a cool diamond or a gem in the center of his circlet. I really do like the final results. I'll go through here and I'll scale this down just a little bit, size it up. we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to finish up his hair. So this is going to be the hair tie, or just kind of like a clasp for the back of his hair holding his top knot back. And the idea that I had for this was it was going to be like 3 stages of the moon. You have a crescent on the left, you have the full moon in the center, and then you have a crescent on the right. Just a fun little concept I came up with. Again, trying to keep with that Egyptian theme. And you'll see it more here in a second once I get it formed up and I get this subdivided as I always do. I was really happy with this once I got this designed though. I'm going to shrink that down, put that in position, and then we're going to go ahead and finish up. After I get this, the detail done around the sides and get everything kind of worked together, I'm going to go ahead and create the tiny little bit of his hair that has been pulled back. And again, as I did with the previous hair, just adding a plane. I'm going to go ahead and add my lines, get it shaped up, and then select every other line, create that wave. As I have it all shaped up, I'll go ahead and subdivide it so that it matches the rest, and then we will be pretty much done. Alright guys, so here he is, the final version, Aros the Elf Spellsword. And I know I say this with almost all of my characters, but I could not be happier with how he turned out. I did get him colored, and this is what he will look like ultimately. Absolutely love what Blender did, adding the metallic sheen to the materials. It's really cool. Ultimately, adding color here doesn't really matter too much. I do that pretty much for you guys so you can see what he is supposed to look like when I'm done. Again, all of my models I pretty much designed for 3D printing, so eventually he'll be 3D printed. It'll all be one color. I'll have to hand paint him, but this does give you a good idea of what the final product should look like. Guys, as always, thank you for the support that I am seeing in the channel. Please like, share, subscribe if you haven't, comment down below. I do try to reply to everybody who does give me a comment, so give me some feedback on what you're seeing. I appreciate y'all so much. Have a great day.